the conscious man.
Welcome to another episode of the podcast.
What is a conscious man? Alrighty. Welcome to another episode of the podcast, The Conscious Man. Today we got Cody Smith, the man, the myth, the legend.
All that for real?
Fuck yeah, bro.
Yeah, I agree, honestly.
Good friends for a long time.
Long time, yeah.
And you've been my personal trainer for a long time. Fucking dialed in on fucking everything, fitness, nutrition. Cody's your fucking man. First question I ask people when they come on the podcast, because it is called The Conscious Man, and I consider you to be one. What does it mean to you to be a conscious man?
That is a good question. And, I've watched, I think, pretty much every episode. So I knew this question was coming. Now, it's a great one. And if we look at, obviously conscious in the literal sense, like earlier today, my 5-year-old had her tonsils out. So she was unconscious and then literally conscious when we went back into her room, right? And I think, with how we define it, it goes a layer deeper than that, right? So to me, and this has been like an evolution for me over the past few years, and I've always felt like I'm, pretty self-aware and whatever, and take accountability for my actions for the most part, but I'm a human, right? And to be human is flawed, which is a great thing as well.
Yeah.
But to me, being a conscious man is being even almost hyper aware of myself internally, like my ego, I suppose, right? My identity in that sense, and, taking ownership and responsibility for decisions I made and how they affect others around me, especially the people I care for, my kids, but also peeling back that onion and stepping out, almost outside of my body, so to speak, and viewing the external world in even a different way than I had before, right? And over the past, and this has been even more of a recent thing, over the past 8 months with everything that I've been going through, looking at things outside of me, whether that's what's happening in the world or whatever, or things that are a little more immediate, just reframing them and putting them into a different perspective. And you talk about it all the time, everything's perfect. This is exactly how it's supposed to be. And kind of leaning on that, but not using that as a scapegoat to be a shithead or something like that. But instead of always thinking, the saying, what's the saying? Things happen to you and not, or things happen for you and not to you.
Yeah.
Kind of circling back and getting into that kind of frame of mind and be well, this is what was supposed to happen, right? As hard as it is, whatever, even, going back to my childhood and things from a long time ago and just looking at them from a different perspective. So I guess leveling up my consciousness, know?
Yeah, I like that. You talk about it's kind of like being able to zoom out and see that perspective from almost God's perspective, but also then being able to zoom in and see, how you're affecting yourself,
right?
How much you can take responsibility, even though everything that's happened in your life has not necessarily been in your control,
right?
Especially if you zoom out, because if you zoom out, from my perspective, it's everything is one, and therefore everything plays its role perfectly, even the dark side of us.
Yeah, duality.
But then you have to, as a man, you kind of have to zoom back in and take full responsibility for your actions, no matter what they were driven by.
Sure.
Because we do make all of our decisions based on our programming,
yeah.
Which if you go back to the origin point, right, we didn't have control over what family we were born into, what programming we received as a kid. And, our personalities are basically built from the time we're 0 to 7.
Right.
And you didn't choose any of that.
Right.
But now then being able to see that and see, okay, I may be running certain patterns because I was programmed a certain way, but now it is my responsibility as a conscious man to take full accountability for where I'm at and where I'm going.
Yeah, one of my favorite sayings, and I say this people, clients all the time, whether it's your fault or not, it's still up to you. Like, you change your situation. Like, no matter what happened or the circumstances that led you to wherever you are, whatever that's related to, like, it's only on you to change or fix or
your
or
situation
manage.
may not be 100% your fault,
But that's
it is
irrelevant
your
because you have to.
Yeah.
You are the one who's.
it's
needs to
100%
change.
your responsibility now,
100%.
right? So cool, man. Yeah, glad we could get you on the podcast.
Yeah, me too.
Your fucking wealth of knowledge when it comes to fitness, nutrition. You've helped me a ton over the years. You have a ton of clients that you've completely changed their lives. So tell me a little bit about like your background, where you come from, and what you do now.
Well, thanks for those kind words. My background in terms of like my career and what I do now.
Whatever you want to tell us, man. I would say everything.
geez.
Like, where
Yeah.
do you come from?
Yeah, well, I pretty much lived in like Davis County my entire life. When I was really young, I mean, we lived in Salt Lake County for, bits and pieces. But I think I moved to Layton when I was in first grade. So how old are you in first grade? 8, something like that, 7. And so I pretty much lived Davis County since then. It's funny because the house I live in now that I purchased in 2012 is on a street that when I was in high school, I used to drive down all the time because it was like a shortcut to get to the mall. And it's only a half a mile south of a house that I lived in when I was really young.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And, just went to the schools around there. And after high school, kind of did college off and on for years, honestly. With the duration that I was in college, I could have had like a freaking master's degree at that point, right? But I was always like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like, I was a good student in high school because high school is so easy. Like, I wish younger people knew that. Like, just try a little bit.
It wasn't for me, bro.
For real?
No, fucking school was never easy for me.
I just felt, well,
Really just because I didn't fucking want to try. I fucking hated it.
I was
like
different.
the effort could be easy.
Yeah.
If you have any desire to be there, but I've just never really enjoyed that system, even from the time I was in elementary. Like I never liked being told what to do, and I always kind of felt that as a kid. Even
that's where I am now for sure. But I enjoyed going to school. Like, I didn't slough a ton. I mean, I sloughed seminary, but anyway, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so college, right? So I'm like, I get to college, and like, I was a good student, graduated with like a 3.5, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I got to college and realized like, I am not college material, right? And I still lived at home, and then there was a year I moved out, lived with some friends, which that's not very conducive to like being a good student either, right? And after a few years of that, I was doing some construction in the meantime, and realized like I don't want to do this either for the rest of my life.
Sure.
And so that was like 2007, 2008, and the whole recession was about to hit, and so like we were getting way slow. And at that time, I was already like studying some NASM stuff to get my personal trainer certification, and it was like right at the end of 2007, I think, and they were going to lay a bunch of people off from the concrete work I was doing, and I just raised my hand. I'm like, I'll go. Like, I don't want to do this. I don't have a family. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, half these guys had kids and a spouse, so I'm like, keep them. I'm done. And then like a month later, took the test, got certified, and started personal training at Gold. So like beginning of 2008. And I've really never looked back since then. And since then, I've done various different things within fitness, but all still within coaching, right? Like did the commercial gym thing till 2011. And then your brother and I left the gym that we were at and went out on our own. That didn't last that long. And then we kind of went back to the commercial gym thing. And then I opened up a CrossFit gym with another friend, and that lasted me until 2019. And it was crazy because I had no plan. I was just like burned out of all of that, like coaching classes all day and, the business side of things. And I just pretty much just left that and had no plan besides like I know fitness, right? I know how to coach people. And the remote thing was like still kind of new, like not a lot of people were doing it. So I'm like, oh, I'll just see how this goes, and started doing that. And then COVID, right? The next year. So that would have closed the gym down regardless, right? So it's like almost like it felt like I saw the future in a way, right? And got ahead of that. And so, I've been doing just the remote thing ever since 2019, and it's been great. And I think it's better in so many ways than like, just meeting with your personal trainer at the gym 1 or 2 or 3 times a week. Like it's so much better. And not just for me, right? That I'm just can work from home, but it's better from the client's perspective. And you experienced it, so I'm sure you could probably attest to that. But that's just kind of where the fitness is going now. But that whole market's like so saturated and it's noisy, right? So it's like we're all competing for your attention. Yeah. It's like, pay attention to me, right? And I try to put out a lot of like really valuable content on Instagram and sprinkle in some entertainment because we're so dumbed down as a society. All we care about is entertainment, right? So that's kind of a tricky thing for me. And I'm stubborn and like, don't tell me what to do type of person. Yeah. And so it's like, do I want to conform? That's not me. Like, that's not the kind of information I want to put out or the kind of content I want to put out. So I try to like toe the line without completely crossing it and just being like the TikTok type of person, right? Sure. But yeah, man, that's where I'm at now. Just that's all I know, dude. Like I think, maybe I'm getting too old for this, right? I'm almost getting to be 40. And I remember when I started like personal training, my family even was like, you're not personable, like you're not extroverted. Really? Yeah, like
interesting.
You're gonna do that? I'm like, yeah, watch. Like I'll show you, right? That's kind of how I am. And people be like, what are you gonna do when you're older? I'm like, what do you mean? I'll still do this. Like, why does it have to be a young person type of thing? And so I've had those thoughts. So like, what am I gonna do? It's like, this is what I know. And so I'm just the type, like, I'll just make it happen no matter what. Yeah, like, in ebbs and flows, like any entrepreneurship does.
Yeah, and it will evolve as you go.
Yeah. And all my coaching style, the way I deliver things, like the system within the business, like everything has changed over the last 5 years of doing the remote thing, right? Yeah. And I've done different things, and I'm like, oh, I didn't really like that, or it didn't work as well with clients. And I used to have people try to book Zooms instead of doing my video check-ins, and no one would ever book one. So I'm like, well, got to still try to like keep the in-person feel or the the personal touch. So that's when I started doing like the Loom thing, which everyone for the most part likes. But it's just evolving, and I just feel like now I'm on a mission, dude. And I mean, if anyone listening or watching, just follow me on Instagram, and you'll see like. I don't have the same like fitness philosophy that a lot of people of my peers do, right? Where it's all about getting jacked and shredded or whatever. That stuff is great, but just like we've talked about, guilt and shame being like a not a long-term solution.
Maybe a crutch.
Like like your body composition. If that's the only thing you're after, like that's not going to last that long because it's fucking hard and it takes a long time. Right. And we live in the days of instant gratification. So it's like that if that's your reason, it's not good luck. Right. Like you got to dig deeper, find other reasons. Yeah. Right. And there's so many, a million reasons to work out. Like I just did that reel that have nothing to do with what you look like. That's just the byproduct. Like
our body is getting healthy.
Yeah. When you chase health, the aesthetics will come. Right. When you chase aesthetics, half the time your health falls apart. Yeah. Right? And all aspects of health.
It's a short-term view where it's going to hurt you more in the long term.
Yeah, it's way short-sighted for sure. Because, aging is real. Do we have to like conform to what we've been told aging is? No, I don't agree to that. But at the same time, like be realistic. Like you're not always going to look like that.
Let me ask you something now that we're on this.
Okay.
How long do you believe humans are meant to actually live if we're completely healthy?
That's actually a great question. because you take out all the processed food and all of that other in our sedentary
All the
lifestyle,
poison.
right? And you can compare it to other times, but there were a lot of other different causes of mortality then, right? Like worrying about a neighboring village coming over and killing everybody, right? So it's like I don't know if I could have an answer for that. Well, over 100 for sure.
Yeah. Do you want to know what I think based off of just what I've researched a little bit is take out all the toxins, take out all the poisons, put in a lifestyle that is very, very active.
Like hunter-gatherer type of lifestyle?
Yes. Like where I hope we're headed again,
right,
to some level that hopefully it's going to be a little bit safer. But
sure,
I think take out all the factors that are killing people nowadays, and it's my belief, just based off of what I've seen, that humans are actually meant to live like 1,000 years.
Well, I think you're a brilliant guy, so I'm not going to dismiss that.
Yeah, and
comment.
it's just a belief. I don't really know. I'm just based off of some things I've seen in Chinese medicine and some things from our past and even from the Bible and stuff. You look at I believe there were times when humans lived almost to 1,000 years, and I think that's really what our lifespan is supposed to be, closer to that.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I can't say you're wrong. What's our life expectancy now? 70?
It's 77 for man.
Yeah,
I think.
No, we should be living way beyond that.
We're ingesting poison at every turn.
Well, and
we take.
There's that we can control for the most part, but then there's environmental aspects that we just can't, like the air.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Chemtrails.
Yeah, yeah. We can't control that.
Right.
So it's, I kind of go back and forth. I mean, I'm definitely the no poison type, right?
For sure.
But at the same time, specifically when it comes to food, how many more years are you trying to buy? 2?
Yeah.
To be maybe overly restrictive with some things and, miss out on some of the other value that maybe not healthy food can bring you, like we talked about over the weekend. And
your body is built to detoxify.
Yeah,
at some
we're
level.
resilient as shit, man. That's what your liver and your kidneys for, right? And take care of those, they'll take care of you. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, by and large, our food is junk.
Crap. Shit.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It is junk. It is, yeah. So 1,000 years, that's very interesting. I don't know.
I've talked to a few other people, and it's that kind of seems like if you go a little bit deeper with a lot of past cultures and what their beliefs are, it seems like humans were actually created to live closer to 1,000 years, given the perfect environment, right? Which
sure,
if you
no external threats,
right?
Yeah,
right. So cool, man. Yeah. So let me ask you this: as far as I consider you now a pretty spiritual man. We talk about being a conscious man. That to me is being in tune with something greater than what we can see here. What got you started, would you say, on your spiritual path? Did you have some sort of an awakening at some point? I know you've gone through an awakening over the past year,
for sure,
which we can talk about. But was there a point before where you kind of woke up to certain shit that was going on in the world or certain shit that was going on in your life?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Number one, Chelsea, my ex-wife, everyone watching or listening, she started down this path way before I did. But I wasn't the other end of the spectrum either.
Sure.
I wasn't you're fucking crazy. I was oh, that's interesting. But honestly, COVID.
Same, bro.
Yeah.
That's
During
when I woke
COVID, I was, and my family still, relative to other stories I've heard from other people, they were really great. But at the same time, it did cause a lot of tension, right? It wasn't full blown division to where it was
sure.
calling names and things like that. But that was one thing where I'm just no, I'm not going to do what you tell me. Like that
Yeah.
Rage Against the Machine song, right?
Yeah.
Even though they've sold out.
They fucking sold
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
But I think COVID really started it for me, at least in terms of like paying more attention to the world, right? More specifically, like in the United States and
Yeah.
where we're going, right? As a society, and just docile and unhealthy and
Yeah.
not even unhealthy. We're sick, right? Most people are sick,
Yeah.
right? And that's where, even to me, like, how do we define healthy? To me, healthy is like optimal, right? Technically, like how most people view healthy is just you're not sick,
Yeah.
right? And that was where COVID, when with the COVID thing, that's where I really started thinking like, what you think healthy is, and what I think healthy is, are not even the same thing.
Two different things.
Yes, like healthy to me is like you're pretty much running on all cylinders in all the ways: mental, physical, emotional, spiritual now, which
Yeah.
I wasn't as spiritual then. But it was pretty much COVID, dude. And then and to me, I'm like, I'm not even, it wasn't even like about defiance. It was just like, or like knowing better or whatever. It's just like, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, and it was a psyop for sure.
Absolutely.
Right. And now everything that's coming out, like
Yeah.
AstraZeneca being pulled from the market, all these issues, that CNN guy, and he even said like, oh, that's just the information we were told to say.
Yeah, of course.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty much the same for me. It was like, dude, when COVID went off, I was like, there was a part of me that was like a little bit scared, but also a part of me that was like a little bit excited that this was going to be the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah. You
But
were one of
after
those.
like a couple days, I remember, I think it was just me going to the grocery store and seeing everybody wear these masks. And I'm just kind of looking around at like, all of a sudden they're like telling us all these things that we have to do, that we have to obey. And all these alarms are just going off in my head. And I'm like, this is not good.
No.
This is not good. They're taking us down a road that we should not be going down. So
Right.
like we didn't close I think we maybe closed our dealership for like
Yeah.
1 or 2 days.
Yeah.
At like the very beginning, and then we're like, yeah, fuck this. We're not.
And at that point too, I already had my life kind of set up to where like I didn't really have to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. But I knew I was this way even when I was a kid and like growing up, because I remember my mother would be like, go to a trade school. Like if you're not going to do college, go to a trade school, go work on base, like
Yeah.
get a good job. And I was like, fuck no, like I'm not doing that. Like I don't want to be told what to do by somebody all the time. That's when, I started just doing things on my own, being an entrepreneur. And so it was kind of like a resurgence of that like core belief for me. I'm like, no, I'm going to do what I feel is the right way. Right. And like I remember the first couple days, because we were on a cruise right before, like in December, in 2019. And then we went to Sun Valley for a ski, like a family ski trip. And I remember in Sun Valley, it was getting really weird. Like no one was there. You could just tell, like you could just feel it. And I remember telling Chelsea when we were up there, I'm like, hey, I bet by the time we get home, like shit's haywire. I think we got home on a Thursday, and then they did the 14-day thing on like Saturday. Like
Yeah.
I knew it. In a couple days, I'm like, oh no. But then 4 days in, I'm like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Like, no. Like, stop paying attention to all that. Like, we're gonna just do what we do, right? She didn't work. I work from home. Our kids, that's when we kind of started homeschooling too. Like that gave us like the taste. It's like, we could homeschool the kids,
Yeah.
for sure. But it was COVID for sure that kind of like awakened me to that kind of thing, right? And then really going inward, that was way more recently,
Yeah.
like starting last year, basically.
Talk about that.
Yeah. So
If you feel comfortable.
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah. Last year was crazy, dude. 2023, like it's the duality of it. It was my most successful year in business,
Yeah.
for sure. But it was also a year that like damn, I didn't think I'd get emotional about this. It was the year that my divorce was initiated, right? It was finalized at the beginning of this year. Something I thought like I never wanted. But now being on the other side, damn. Like I see like, oh, that was supposed to, for both of us. And that was really hard to see right then. And obviously, with the kids and everything, like that was tough, and it's still a challenge, but like we're getting there. Yeah. We have a good co-parenting relationship for sure. Probably better than most, and I think that makes my kids kind of confused, which is a tough one.
Yeah.
Because like we can still be around each other and like be kind and talk and hang out for a moment, right? If we're transitioning kids or whatever, or if, you know, like today, going over there after Harlow's surgery and just hanging out for a minute before we went down for that meeting. And one of my kids specifically, Gracie, she has a hard time with it. She's like, well, you know, like, why did you get divorced? Like, you will understand one day, right, when you get into a relationship. And it's not just so black and white,
right?
You know? But that really started all of this, like my spiritual journey, so to speak.
A huge fucking awakening for you.
Yeah, yeah. And then, like, probably one of the most pivotal moments, I think, for me was doing, you know, sitting in some medicine with you at your house that night.
It was a special night.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
I felt honored to guide you through that, and it was hard because, you know, you and I have known each other for a long time. We've been really good friends for a long time. We've always communicated like on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah.
And it was really a learning experience for me too, to help guide you through that and like see the deep emotions that you were running through. But it was also in such a huge fucking way inspiring to watch another man go through his shit and be open and vulnerable and, you know, be open to the fact that he needs help from his friend.
Right.
And yeah, man, we had a really special night, and it's been really, really cool watching how fast you've moved through it, because I've seen how fucking heavy it is. And, you know, I'm not in your shoes, so I don't fully understand it, but I've seen the progress that you've made, the person that you become, the man that you're becoming, you know, really stepping into your masculine power. And it's inspired the shit out of me. And I've also seen like how much you've pulled out of it, because, you know, for me, and this has been a huge part for me over the past like years, like the amount I'm able, the level of deepness that I'm able to achieve on connecting, especially with other men, you know, definitely in my relationship with my woman, but especially with other men, has been something that's just like so special to me.
Yeah, it's not something that we were like, that was encouraged a lot.
Yeah, and it's not even something that I was aware was possible.
Yeah, me neither.
Like, to have this level of brotherhood with the group of guys that we have now is like, you don't get that by just living in comfort all the time.
I'm more connected with, I mean, you for sure, but even some of the other guys from our group that I've known several months than I am with friends I've had for 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
We just don't have that depth, right? But yeah, I mean, and going over to your house that night was like, it was a no-brainer. Like, I was going to ask you, like, but it was like a level, there was a level of humility there to just be like, fucking help me with this, right? Like, I got no one else to talk to, no one who knew kind of the ins and outs of the whole, all of it, right, of our relationship. And we were together for 14 years. We were married for 12. So it was like, I felt like my world like was ending.
Yeah. And it was, in a sense.
Yeah. It was like, at least that piece of my life was ending.
Yeah. And
that was hard, like a hard pill to swallow, because I never, like, I didn't think I would ever have wanted that. And I mean, I can't go back and say like, oh, now I would have said, oh yeah, great fucking idea. Yeah. But now just being on the other side, it's like, well, it's been good for her, and it's been really good for me, because I wasn't, I was just on like autopilot.
No, you were carrying way more than you should have.
That too, yeah.
For sure. And you had to go through that darkness to see how much you were carrying and how much you were unconscious to.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but it's cool, like too, like just like seeing, we started this men's group. Hasn't even been a year yet.
Really?
Hasn't even been a year yet, and just like seeing how much it's helped some guys get through their shit in so many ways, and there's the deep bonds that we've been able to establish over just like such a short amount of time. When we're all still so young, we have so much life ahead of us. Like what are the possibilities when I didn't even think like this level of connection, this levelhood of brotherhood was a possibility in this life, that I could enjoy like having this fucking group of guys around me so much.
Yeah.
And that also, none of that would have been possible without me going through my shit too, because I've needed you guys as much as you've needed me, and as much as you guys have needed each other. And so it's just been so fucking special for us to have this fucking council of warriors at our side as we go through our shit.
Yeah, it's been really special, and it's not accidental like we've talked about. Like this, it's just, you couldn't have orchestrated this.
No,
at all.
Not you. Yeah.
Not to the level and the depth.
Not like the person that I think I am now as like my ego, right? Like my ego couldn't have orchestrated any of this. Like it's definitely something that was born of a higher power.
Yeah. And
that's why I'm I constantly go back to, I think you can zoom in and you can zoom out, but I constantly go back to the fact that, like in The Alchemist, Maktub, it is written. I constantly go back to that in my life, where it's like, how much do we really have control over, and how much has already been written? Because if I zoom out, which I try to do on a pretty regular basis in my life, it sure seems like I don't really have control over everything that's happening in my life. And to me, there's some level of comfort in that, to know that this is destiny.
Yeah.
Our role, I believe, is so big that there's not a lot that we can really do to mess this up.
Right.
Which to me, there's just some level of comfort in knowing that I can take full responsibility for my life. And I really try to stay zoomed in and grounded on that level, that I am responsible for my happiness. I am responsible for where my life goes, but it's also controlled by a much higher power than just my ego. And so I don't really have to worry that I'm going to screw it up.
Right. I was thinking about that on the way home today. It's like, I'm into Stoicism a lot too, right? And the whole tenet, like the basis of Stoicism is essentially like focus on what you can control, right?
Yeah.
Which is yourself. But at the same time, like, is choice just an illusion? Like, has everything already been laid out?
Yeah.
It's an interesting question.
It's a really interesting conversation that I have all the time.
I think people can spin that to their liking and buy into it too much. Be like, nothing matters, right? Like, I can do whatever I want. Well, no, you still have to take responsibility for yourself. Yeah. I think the general path is, it's already been written. Like, it's already planned.
Yeah, usually when I have this conversation, people say, well, I think there's points in your path along the way that you have to hit.
Like a checkpoint.
Yeah, like it's a checkpoint that you're going to get there, but you have a little bit of like wiggle room in between. And I really honestly don't even buy into that.
Yeah.
I don't.
You think that's too much leeway?
I think everything is laid out for you. But
like
if you
down
don't,
to every decision you make.
Pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah, it's basically determinism.
Yeah.
Basically everything is predetermined. Everything is destiny. You're just, it's already happened. It's already been written by a much higher version of yourself. But now you get to come down into this game. And
experience it.
And you get to experience it as if it is real, as if you are making the choices, even though those choices that you were making are kind of an illusion.
Yeah.
And I think, while we are in this game, we do need to take responsibility. Sure. Like, take responsibility because you are playing this game.
Right.
And taking responsibility is the best way to play the game to some extent, while also having the ability to zoom out and say, I can't screw this up,
Right.
right? It's an interesting conversation.
I like it. I like it. And I like the part about taking responsibility, because whether it's determined or not, that doesn't mean every decision you ever make is a good one.
Right.
You know, and you can affect people and hurt them.
Yeah.
So what you could, be like, oh, well, that wasn't me. That was my higher self, or that was already how it was supposed to be. Like, you still need to, apologize or whatever, take responsibility and hold yourself accountable, or hold yourself to a standard at least.
Yeah, the whole illusion, the whole illusion of free will thing is such an interesting conversation, and almost everyone I talk to has a different opinion on it. But I just try and stay in that balanced point in between,
Right.
where some days I need to zoom out and I need to go. I need to have grace for myself and the decisions that I have made that I know have been wrong, that have led me down a path that isn't the most comfortable path, but also realizing that everything probably is perfect, and I'm here for a very specific reason, and it's designed by something much higher than myself.
Well, and everyone else in your life has their own role, right?
Right.
And
whether that's your ally or your enemy.
Right.
I believe everyone plays their role perfectly. But do I continually try to come back to, I need to take responsibility for everything that is in my control, or at least seems to be in my control? Yes, because that's how I want to play this game.
Yeah,
and I think
agree,
it's the
100%.
best way. I think it's the best way to be able to do both. You zoom in, you zoom out, right? Sometimes you got to zoom out, especially as a man. And it also kind of depends on what is your role, because for me, I feel like a big part of my role here in this game is to help men be able to zoom out a little bit.
yeah,
To be able to zoom out and see that this is so much bigger than just them, because I see so many men that are so fucking hard on themselves in this world of like, you got to take full fucking responsibility, and if you're not living your life a certain way, then you're a piece of shit. Okay. Yes, take full responsibility for your life, but also have the ability to zoom out and see that everything is perfect.
yeah,
Right? And give yourself that grace. And then you can zoom back in and be like, okay, what can I take responsibility for in my life that I'm not taking responsibility for?
Right.
And what can I look at as, okay, this is out of my control. I need to be able to let it go. I need to be able to surrender to the higher intelligence of the universe that it is taking me through this process, even though probably a lot of it is uncomfortable depending on where you're at in your life. But there's a higher purpose to everything that's always happening.
yeah. I like that, and what you were saying about the, being too hard on yourself. Like so many things in life are like a pendulum, right? You're too fucking hard on yourself, or you're just too
Easy on yourself.
easy.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and then if you end up on one end of the spectrum, like, you just swing the pendulum the other way.
Yeah.
Right. So like the balance of trying to, like, you're taking responsibility, but you don't take life too fucking serious either.
Yes.
Right. Like,
It's that lens.
Yeah.
It's that because I think when you stay too far zoomed in, when it's like everything is your responsibility, and then when you're in this really hard part of life, when you
That's
feel like
heavy,
everything
too.
is
That's
falling
heavy.
apart, then you kind of get burnt out on that, where you're like, well, everything's my responsibility. Then why is everything going to shit
yeah.
when I feel like I'm putting in the effort? And and then that's gonna make gonna make the pendulum swing the other
Yep.
way. Well, like,
And then
well,
you're
I'm
like,
just gonna
fuck it.
fucking give
Yeah.
up.
yeah.
Because this is too fucking hard for me to take responsibility for things that I feel like I'm putting effort into that just don't seem to be going my way.
Right.
And everyone just keeps telling me all these things that I need to change and that I need to take responsibility for, when that clearly is not helping, because I feel like I'm putting in the effort. I think you need to be able to zoom out and be like, well, okay, yes, everything is your responsibility, but also you don't have a control over anything. So give yourself some grace so that you can swing the pendulum both ways,
Yeah.
and then you can find your balance
Yeah.
with that pendulum, and it kind of has to swing both
Yeah,
ways.
yeah, it doesn't
Has
have to stay in
zoom
the
out and
middle.
zoom in. No, it doesn't.
Right. It can go back.
It's going to
and
go
forth.
back and forth,
Yeah.
and as it goes back and forth, you hope to find more and more of
You
your
gotta-
balance, and you find more and more of
center,
your
yeah.
harmony
Yeah.
with your life.
Totally agree with that.
So Yeah, man. So currently, what are you doing? What's your plan look like going forward? What are you creating right now as a conscious man? Like, what are you excited about?
What am I excited about? Well, aside from kind of this group and where we're going,
We got some cool fucking shit going
Yeah,
on in
it's
the
gonna
group
be
right
awesome.
now. We just had the most fucking amazing weekend retreat in the desert where we're all fucking tapped in. I mean, that weekend was you can't
you
describe
can't
it.
explain it to
You
other
can't
people.
describe it unless you were there. We were in some sort of a fucking portal. We're all, and that, like now even like coming out of it, we just went to Top Golf today. We're all fucking tapped into like this creation energy. Like I really feel like we opened a portal to create some really cool
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. Professionally, I mean, I'm still going to do what I'm doing, but I'm going to start to shift, 'cause with what I do, right? Like heavily focus on training and nutrition and lifestyle factors, but like that's all so surface level.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah, it's important. You should know functional anatomy and physiology and some biochemistry, and you should know all the science behind nutrition. You should know that you need to sleep and, manage your stress and all of those things. But the behavioral aspect is where most people fall short, right? Like, you're a human being,
Yeah.
right? With decades of experiences and traumas and patterns that you have ingrained within
And
yourself.
so much of the mainstream shit and the fitness shit is like all or nothing, which is
Oh, yeah.
what I really love about you, which really
Yeah, I
drew
hate
me
that.
to
It's
you.
a pendulum,
is like
dude. It's a pendulum.
you have a lot of grace for your clients,
Yeah.
where it's like you're not supposed to be perfect.
Right. You're right. A lot of grace, but at the same time, it's like, okay, like we need to dive into this a little more.
Yeah.
Like, why? Or, what can we fix? What can
And
we
what's
change?
behind the behavior.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
like, why do you do what you do? Right. And it's like, it's all psychological. So like just trying to improve on that and always like get better at my craft. Right. But I do want to start introducing more of the spiritual side of things, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but like with my 6-week group that I started, one of our focuses was with the stress management in particular was like journaling or meditating, right? Which I can totally, transcend into more of a spiritual side, especially with meditation. But I'm still, dude, I'm on a mission like in the fitness space to fucking just be authentic and real and like cut through some of the like the all or nothing type of thing, and I speak on that all of the time, right? And like with fitness is far more than what your body looks like. That's just the byproduct of it all. But just continue to try to make more of an impact there.
Yeah.
And that's hard in today's world. It's so noisy, dude. And like the fitness, especially on Instagram, it is massive.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I don't know. I feel like I'm on the cusp, though. Like, I'm so close to just.
Yeah, bro, and I felt that for you too.
Creating
where, like,
that
I see
impact
what
that
you're
I
doing.
want.
I see you like being a very disciplined person, putting in a lot of effort. That to me, in some sense, seems like you're being held back by something bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
And this even goes back to our conversation where it's like, you can be doing all the right
Yeah.
things, but if the timing isn't right and God's just not quite ready for you to be propelled forward in a way that
Right.
you're ready to go, but He knows you're not quite
Right.
there
Maybe
yet.
I'm not ready for
and
it.
I've seen that in the stuff that you're putting out. Like you're creating amazing fucking content. You've been in the group basically since day one.
Yeah.
Which, how has that been for you? Like, how's the group affected you being in it for almost a year?
I loved it. I remember the day I downloaded the app, dude, when you're finally like the app's ready. It's been, because honestly before, like, I mean, I have friends, right? But it's like, I didn't spend nearly enough time with men at all. I mean, I have 3 daughters. At that time, I had a wife, and I just never made myself a priority at all. And in the group, it was like a subtle way of me like starting to make myself and what I want to do like above not everything, but like it was moving up the priority list, right? And so that kind of like slingshotted me. And then, everything else that happened, and then being a single dad after that, like I had a lot more time. But just being in the group and being around more like-minded men, not that, some of my other friends aren't, they certainly are. But it was just a scheduled time. And, it was all virtual for the most part, besides some of the guys' nights. But a scheduled time where I can just hang out with my friends that are men, that I hardly ever had that opportunity, or I hardly ever made that an opportunity for me. Right? I was always just going with the flow and letting everyone, getting behind what everyone else wanted to do.
Yeah, I'm taking care of everybody else.
Because I thought that was like,
needs were met.
I thought that's what I was supposed to do, right? Or I had a skewed view of my duties, right? Like I provide, I protect, and I, give the people I looked after as much freedom as they could have, which that's another discussion for another day.
Yeah, it seems like the honorable thing to do, and in some sense, it is very honorable to self-sacrifice. But it's ultimately a paradox, that backfires eventually. Yeah. Unfortunately, you have to fill your own cup first, and you're learning that the hard way. And
I would tell people that, like clients, right? I'm like, oh, you got to take care of yourself first. You got to take care of yourself first. And I was the worst at that. Yeah. Besides, working out and stuff like that, like I still did that because that's just what I've done forever. Yeah. But anything outside of that, I rarely did. Yeah. And so this is like my thing now, like hanging with the group.
Yeah, and it's fucking. You come back from even just a lunch with the guys. It's been great. Recharged
and meeting regularly for lunch and stuff.
Yeah, man, it's fucking awesome. I come out of that and I'm like, we have so many guys in our groups that are just fucking pushers that just want to create.
Like Zach, we were talking Zach's an action taker.
He's just a fucking pusher, man. And like after hanging out with him, I'm like, I kind of am able to let go of like fears that are holding me back from creating more, because I feel like I got guys by my side that are ready to go out into the world and create shit and make our mark and make a difference. And yeah, dude, the fucking group has just been completely life-changing for me. It's
shifted my ex, she would always tell me this, like I was just kind of, my default was scarcity. With like everything, right? Specifically finances, and then I think it like compounded when for 7 years finances were on me, all of it. Yeah, and so I was just in this loop, always, right? Even though I did really well for myself, the group has done a ton for me in moving into more of the abundant space, right? In all things, not just money, in everything, and like it's shown to be true because I have an abundance of love, like for men that I didn't even know a year ago. Most of all of them, except for you, pretty much. It's just helped me, just a total like shift, right, in my mindset. And that's when I say I'm on the cusp. I think I'm on the cusp for a lot of growth in all the ways.
Yeah, and it's cool because we see like our tribe coming together, and we've all been through so much shit. And now we have the capability to have these deep relationships, but I also see like so many of us are right on the cusp of like real abundance, like you're saying, like abundance in so many ways that, I think it takes a lot of time to like progress, and then it seems to happen overnight. And so many men are like, you can just feel that we're fucking right there. We're right there on the edge of something really big. And we've been talking about we just over the weekend decided that we're gonna fucking start a headquarters. And we are all stoked for that, because I think that's gonna be huge. It's gonna be huge to draw in men that have been resistant, I think, to joining. Because it's kind of been like, like what is this men's group? Like you guys meet on Zoom,
kind of vague, you
hang out once in a while, and like now I think we'll have this home base that will be like this giant man cave that we can escape to, where we'll have a gym and a sauna and the podcast room and all this cool shit to help draw in men that really need it. Because you see it out there, man, especially now that like we've experienced it and we've seen our own growth and how much our lives have deepened. And then you see other men out there that like are like almost there, but they're just resistant to it. And so I think it'll be a huge draw for men that really need this. Because I think that, you know, we're moving into a place where men need each other, and we've seen it in our own lives.
Yeah.
We fucking need each other. We need deep connections with brothers if we really want to experience deep abundance in our lives. Yeah. And so, yeah, man, I'm super fucking grateful for you.
Likewise.
You've been just a fucking brother for a long time, but our relationship has got so much cooler the past year. I've learned a shit ton from you. And, you know, I've been honored to be one of the people that's been there.
Yeah, dude, you're my go-to. Whenever I need someone to talk to, I'm like, text it. Are you busy tonight?
Yeah.
You know, it's just like half hour, an hour.
Yeah.
We'll just sit on your back porch and bullshit
just
for a
bullshit
minute.
and fucking help each other through shit. And it's fucking amazing. So, yeah, bro, I fucking appreciate you, love you, appreciate you coming on the podcast and telling a little bit about your story. And we'll fucking do this again.
Yes.
Because I want to have guys within the group come on a regular basis and just check in and see where they're at. And next time you come on, you'll probably be way fucking farther ahead than you are now. Yeah, man. That's going back to the cusp thing, right? Like, so many people give up in whatever it is right before they're there, because it's so fucking hard right before. And I always, even with clients, I'm like, you just keep going, like you're almost there, a little more time, you know. That's like, so for everyone watching, like, don't fucking if it's really fucking hard, just keep going. And well, and that's your proof. Yeah, that's your proof that you're almost there. Yeah. And it sucks, but the payoff. There's trade-offs for everything, but the payoff is so worth it. Will be worth all of it. But yeah, and it's gonna be worth it. And it's gonna be cool watching all the guys in the group break through that fucking barrier, and then it's just gonna be on to the next level because it's a never-ending game. Yeah, you know, it's just it's a game. Cool. You gotta play the game. Cody, you're the fucking man. Appreciate you, Thanks, brother. Thanks for listening, guys. We will catch you on the next one. Peace.